artwork was being thrown into the trash. And I realized from working in the precinct that the landscape of Harlem was changing, and that the folks that were coming in didn't really know about Franco or understand the value of those gates. So I told them we got to do something about it. We've been working on it ever since. With the help of good people like Lizette, some of my family members, some community people, we formed a group to save the gates of Harlem. And we called ourselves Team Franco. You know, but we've had a lot of support. We've had support from, not just like tonight with the Dwyer Center and the folks here, but we've had support from all of our elected officials, particularly Bill Perkins. We've had support from the business community, where we have gotten support from Forest City Rapper, who came in and reached out to us and said they would do what they could to help us to preserve his artwork, which we're very appreciative of. And Blumenfeld with the East River Project, where they will hopefully be on display soon. So these are some of the things we're working toward, and it's really difficult when you're not working with any finances. And when people are putting out their own blood and sweat, you know, I have my family, other people have their families, and they're taking their time and donating their time to make sure that these things happen. And they're much appreciated, and they're good folks. And Franco's a good guy, and I want to make sure that his work is preserved as well. I have several of his pieces in my own home, and it took me a while to get them, but happy I got it. Happy I got it. I give nothing but compliments on it. And Sister Yarborough, I hope she does feel better, and I hope she's able to come around and be with us in the near future. But right now, I'd like to, I guess, bring Franco up and
got him over here.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for being here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen.
We're all here to spend quality time with Franco the Great. I'm now privileged to have Dr. Ademola Olubifola, Vice President of the International Communications Association and renowned international artist whose works in collections worldwide, to join us and enter into dialogue with the fabulous, the wonderful Franco the Great. Another round.
Welcome. It's going to be a beautiful evening with Franco.
I'm supposed to be introducing you. So it's good wait. But listen, Franco, I just want you to know that I've had the opportunity to exhibit all over the world like you, publish and admire, but let me tell you, I'm one of your survivors. You have been a killer of creativity, and you almost single-handedly put Harlem on the artistic map. People who... Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I need to look up at this. Let me speak a little louder so we can get some attention. You actually virtually put Harlem single-handedly on the artistic, creative map. I can recall many a Sunday, just tour buses full of people coming up to just see your work and meet you. And you have been a pioneer. And you know, when you look at Harlem and its development today, played a major role in that. And you made an imprint that is worldwide. So I am honored today to have the opportunity to converse with you in this very, very special occasion. Brother Frank.
I thank you. I'm very kind to share those thank you.
Franco, I just want to give a little background, if I may. You know, Franco's story is that good comes from adversity. At 3 years of age, in Panama, where he was born, many people didn't realize that this is a Panamanian, fell several stories, landing on his head, leaving him in a coma for a month. Everyone seemed to give up hope for Franco, including the doctor, who said that all that could be done was to pack his head with ice and pray. His own grandmother.
Put the mic in your mouth.
Thank you.
So his own grandmother, ended up in the hospital upon seeing Franco's condition, and she ended up fainting. So this is just a little tickler because even though Franco will be formally announcing his wonderful biography, this is just a small excerpt from what is a fascinating work. So, Franco, thank you.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, you're going to have a nice, pleasant evening with Franklin Grant. And I hope that when I introduce my book to you guys, that you will read it and find some good in it. Especially, there are parts that are inspiring, and there are a lot of thrill, there's a lot of romance, but there's no murder. There's no murder. There's no murder in this chapter. Well, you know, 2 weeks ago, I was very nervous about this affair. Unfortunately, I don't know much people, but literally hundreds and thousands of people know of me. And I get to realize that how that happened. I never thought that I was a person of much importance, but when I came into my community, which is Harlem, and I actually worked day and night and day, without even knowing what is downtown or uptown, just 123 people miles. And believe it or not, I could not believe that I spent so many years in one area, from the east side to the west side. But it wasn't something that I would regret. It's something that I just had a feeling to do, and I felt compelled to do. And you see that the amount of people that come to see what I've done in Harlem, it was something that I will never forget until now. It's still on for over 4 or 5 years. I dedicated myself in Harlem, and I swear that Harlem is my home that I love. That's why I always use the phrase that I must bloom exactly where I was planted. And I know that many of you all do the same. But I must realize that I cannot do this by myself. there was help. A lot of people behind the scenes was helping me. Just like Mr. Curtis, Dana Hopper, Lazette, Donkey, and there's so many more that I can all remember. But I would like to say, hello, can you hear me?
Take that from the back.
Which one works better? This one?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, this is with my car. Okay, good. But I never believed that my brush and my palette would take me so far. There was one gentleman that came from Japan, and he was instrumental. He involved with me to go to Japan, and his name is Tommy. Would you please stand? Please, Tommy. Thank you. Tommy, I really appreciate what you did for me. I'll never forget that. More than one time that he arranged me to go to Japan. And I've gathered the international interest around the world, and I never forget that how could one man take a brush and go so far. That's why I always use the word, you and I can go very far from where we are. And I believe in that. But I'd like to go to another segment of the speech that I'm trying to make about my book. My book is full of thrills and full of a lot of things that I know that you will enjoy. Besides the book, I know that the food is fantastic and the drink is wonderful. Please don't forget. Please don't forget to buy my book. It comes with a gift, and a gift from my heart. So when you buy the book, there will be a gift comes with it. And when you buy my prints, there also will be a gift. So how can you lose what I'm using? How can you lose? Okay? But I would like you to please hold this mic for me. I'd like to tell you about a little bit about the book. Okay? Yeah. Look what you got to see what I'm talking about. I told you it was out. Now, can you believe the lie? When I tell you a lie, I mean, prove a point. One more time. I'm showing you the book. And I hope that when you buy the book, be careful, eh? Okay, thank you. Thank you for the voice.
Just a minute,
Harlem has always been the heart of black community life in New York City, and 125th Street is the heart of Harlem.
We just want to show a short film.
This is where everything begins. This is the first documentary that they did of me and Real People. I don't know how many of you remember Real People? Huh? Well, whoever is Real People.
Harlem has always been the heart of black community life in New York City, and 125th Street is the heart of Harlem. But since the riots of a decade ago, this center of the community has been locked behind steel gates. Store owners locked up their goods and only raised the gates during business hours. The rest of the time, these cold gray barricades make local residents feel like unwanted outsiders in their own neighborhood. The gates have made this once vital shopping and meeting place feel like a prison.
I've been on the street for about 15 years. I've been before they had riot gates. When this street was beautiful, customers used to walk down and window shop at night. They used to walk on Sunday. And then when the riots and everything, the riot gates came. It became like a morgue. It was depressing. It was terrible.
Gates was supposed to keep niggas out. That's the bottom line. Gates was supposed to keep niggas out.
Well, someone finally decided to do something about the situation. Meet artist Franco Gaskin. He's launched a one-man crusade to make 125th Street come alive again. Armed only with his paints and his ever-present stereo headphones, Franco is fulfilling his dream to turn every iron gate in Harlem into a vibrant work of art.
When you have a man like this to come and take something negative and make something positive out of it.
When he first started, he would come out here in the middle of the night without any recompense, any kind of money, and you would find this happening.
The whole thing started back in 1978. That's when Franco and a Harlem business owner first decided that an iron gate should be used for something more than shutting people out. How did Franco come to paint your gate?
When he came, he wrote me a book. We opened it up, he says, what would you like? So I picked out a magnolia bush. So I put the magnolia bush on there. And this store stood out like a 100-watt bulb. Only store with a picture on this gate. I think the whole world, right? Then the phone was ringing. Who painted your picture? Who painted your picture? And right away, store after store after store started getting their gates painted.
Now, when store owners close up for the night, Franco's fantastic flights of fancy light up the avenue for all to see. He's done 35 gates so far, and there are no two alike. These gate paintings are such a hit in Harlem that some people want to name 125th Street after the artist. Visit his studio to find out more about his ambitious project. Do you sometimes feel that maybe the whole city is your canvas?
My first idea was to have one of the largest galleries in the world. This is my if I could have a gallery that I could call from river to river, one avenue at a time.
And all of them named Franco Boulevard. Franco invited me to see some of his works in progress. I learned that gate painting has its own particular set of problems. First, there are the local art critics, and also the difficulty of painting a flat canvas. But facing problems and overcoming them is nothing new to Franco Gaskin. He's been doing that all his life. I learned that as a child, he had to deal with a serious speech impediment which kept him from speaking. How did you decide to make painting your occupation?
Well, I remember very well when I was about 4 or 5. I couldn't express myself like I'm doing now at all. It was totally impossible. Matter of fact, my parents and my friends used to call me dummies. Then I find myself quite comfortable in the corner, just painting, drawing cartoons, and expressing myself in that way.
Why do you suppose you turned out in a positive way? As a child, having people calling you a dummy, that might have turned you angry.
You know, sometimes I look back and I say, that's the best thing ever happened to me. That they call me dummy. Because that gives me the incentive to prove that they were wrong.
Well, Franco has proven them wrong. And if you have any doubt about that, ask the people of 125th Street.
I like it. He's your modern-day Michelangelo.
If it continues like this, it wouldn't be riot gates. You have to change the name to beauty gates or something like that, you know, or art gates.
Bringing some of the country to Harlem really shows that there's somebody who cares about all.
Franco has become so popular that between signing autographs and explaining his work to tourists, it's sometimes hard to find time to paint. But the work goes on, and you never know when there may be a future Franco standing on the sidewalk behind you, picking up pointers.
A kid in the ghetto never have a chance to see an artist's work. you were never exposed to an artist because most artists is indoor and most artists are white. Just to see one of his own kind of their painting, and he may just develop in feelings for this type of work.
Franco Gaskin is much more than a colorful local artist to the people of Harlem. He and his paintings are symbols, living proof that one person working alone against the odds can really make a difference, and that it's still better to light a bright candle of hope than to curse the darkness.
It is hope, that's what it is. A lot of hope for a lot of people, young folk, you know, that you can do it on your own.
Franco,
Yes, sir.
hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Well, you know, you saw a little bit of magic before. What people don't realize is that Franco, the great, that expression, that description of him came from him being a master magician.
That's wonderful.
You saw a little sample with the book, hot book.
Yes, that's
But you
right.
know, Franco, I was always fascinated that you could actually, just the sheer body of work, the sheer energy, to do 200 paintings.
More than that, sir. More than that.
Well,
Yes.
that emphasized my point.
Right.
And you know, what was particularly interesting to me as an artist myself was that your first painting was about flowers. It was about a blossom. What was your thinking in starting this whole project with a blossom tree?
Well, the blossom tree came from my philosophy. As I keep repeating myself when I say, while I was painting the tree, okay, I can tell you the first thing. I've never painted a metal gate before. That was my first experience. And it was documented for me too. But I did something that I felt most comfortable doing, and I think I could manage that. And that was the blossom tree. So while I was painting it, folks passed by. It was on a Saturday morning, and they said, well, Mr. Franco, why are you painting that? The kid's going to graffiti tomorrow. You're wasting your time. And I was a very angry person at the time. I said, why you don't say your hope that counts, rather than say that it's going to. So I continue painting it, and they asked me, well, what is the meaning of the tree, blossom tree? I said, that's where I must go, where I was planted, in Harlem. After I arrived in Panama, the first place I met was in Harlem. So I continued my career in Harlem until I could spread my wings all over the world.
Well, you know something which was very interesting to me. In that period of time, the graffiti movement was just beginning to emerge. And graffiti had a bad name, and deservingly so, because some of the graffiti actually was distorting and defacing people's property. You know, and that was a worldwide movement, but it was especially here in New York that I saw a lot of graffiti. But you know, the peculiar thing is, for me, no one ever graffitied on top of your woods. Of those 200 gates, I have never seen one. That's an amazing tribute to how well you were loved by the Harlem community and how much the respect they had for you.
Right.
Because, I mean, they were graffitiing everything.
They don't put waters in the churches.
And no one ever graffitied one of your walls.
But there was another trick that I used. I explain the trick. All right? Okay? Now, while I'm painting, of course my back is towards the street, but sometimes I feel like someone is watching me in the back of me. So when I look around, there's a kid or a youngster, and I said to him, are you an artist? Yeah, I'm an artist. I said, what you do? She said, I'm a graffiti artist. Wow, come over here, idiot. Take this brush and just paint the little thing over here for me, please. Oh, and he was so proud that I did not look down on him, but I wanted him to help. Now, of course, after he left, then I fix it.
The spirit was that trick.
So that was my psychology every street. That's
Well, I think it goes beyond that, though. I mean, even though at the moment that the audience viewing that, of course, would absorb that and love that. But the point is, 3-4 months later, when that kid was not around or you were not around, people would not efface that. So again, it's a tribute to not only how much you respected, but the quality of the work. That's one of the things that impressed me most. You are a really fine artist. And, you know, when people think about public art, which your work epitomizes, they think of creating something that, yes, it is beautiful and it may be a nice design. But, you know, one of the things I noticed about all of your work is that you were able to customize each gate that reflected then, in many instances, what that business was. And one of the things that in reading your book, which is a fascinating read, with everybody here tonight, make sure you take one of these books. I couldn't put it down. It's right here. And, you know, it's in first person. He speaks about it. But did you write this actually? I mean, you know, did you just dictate this to somebody? Because it really is a wonderful...
Can I say something about that?
Certainly.
There is a wonderful gentleman that I'd like to meet tonight. I'd like you all to know. And it's Mr. Jose Bonilla. Will you please stand and let the public know that you are a wonderful... Stood with me for 1 year. Never missed a beat. For 1 year to let me dictate this book to him, and he put it in ways, fancy words. But at the same token, I began to wonder about his wife. You know, do you really tell your wife you come in to see me? Because I don't believe nobody in the world would believe this man faithfully come every Tuesday, I think it was, come and see me. And but apparently they're still married. You know in other words, the reason why I'm asking her to stand, because she could have given a hard time, you see? And to know that she has been to create this book, indirectly, I must say. Okay? Thank you, Jose.
Frank, I wanted to ask you a technical question as an artist. Painting on metal, is there some special materials? Because painting on canvas or paper is one thing, but actually painting on metal, what kind of materials did you have to use? Because these gates have stood the test of time. I mean, you know, when the city ordinance came in and demanded that, you know, the gates be wire gates, all of your paintings were still in sterling condition. So what were you using, and what technique did you use that made the work so well with metal?
Well, I was saying with the first gate that I've done, it wasn't easy, and I began to study the formation of the gates. Now, you would think, oh, that all gates are alike. No way. There's so many different types of gates.
I didn't realize that.
But it has become my obsession not to let this gate beat me. I'm going to beat this gate. And there are many artists actually over and over letters that I received from California and other countries. How do you get your images at that level? Because as you know, it's convex and concave.
Yes.
And how can you get the eyes and the mouth and features and that gate instead look like it's one piece.
Amazing.
It's not like when you're determined to do something. And I was determined to master that gate. And then one day I received a magazine from Germany, I think they called it Hearts or something, but they recognized me as one of the artists that creates like a new art form and method. And they described different artists that did something differently. And I'm so glad that I did start with the painting the gate. And today, I am so proud to know that there's other people that admire my work and which are trying to replace the gate someplace else. Circle the same, and to figure out the year or whatever it takes. Okay?
Well, Dana and Curtis are in the forefront of trying to make sure that we at least preserve some of those. Of course, we couldn't be 200, but my understanding is that they are being preserved. There's a group of them, and that eventually they'll be a public display. Certainly, and of course they've been filmed so much all over the world. I was looking at the posters that you have out there, which are, by the way, are for sale as well.
Yes, of course.
And I looked on the back, and I was just amazed at the different languages that is on the back of those posters. You have French, German, Japanese, Portuguese. It's amazing the languages that you have mastered in the process of doing your work and championing Harlem is just an amazing feat. That along with your work, you become a linguist as well.
Well, I thought that actually, to be very speaking, painting is not my business. People are my business. People. And that's why today I stand in front of you. I'm very happy to see you all come and support me. And I will forever think about people. When I'm painting things, it's not for me. It's for you. Because no home is complete without a Franco. My objective is to have every home. I'm a poor artist. I'm a poor artist. This suit, I gotta take back.
How many of you have had an opportunity? I know you came in and probably just came straight to the auditorium, but we have a small sampling of the maestro's work in the room. So make sure when you leave here that you go in and check out a few of his masterworks that we're very proud to be exhibiting today. You know, Franco, you know, one of the things that I think you've achieved among many things is that you have a certain amount of respect from your peers. Now, you know, many artists, visual artists specifically, you know, we kind of, you know, in our own little studios, and we're very solo and we're very picky, let me put it that way. But I found that among many of my colleagues, they have such great admiration for your work. Technically, because you really agree, I mean, your sense of balance, your composition, and the amazing thing of being able to paint on these ridged gates. I mean, for those who have not experienced gates, maybe from downtown, from out of the country, these gates are, as you say, concave and convex. So that in itself is an amazing feat.
But not only that, but look at the size of the gate.
Yes. These are what we would call major work.
Major work.
You know, scale is very important in public art, as you could imagine. And it's one thing painting on an 18 by 24 canvas. It's another thing painting on a 10 foot by 10 foot gate.
Or whatever.
That's a whole nother technical and artistic gift that you must have to be able to work large scale like that.
Well, I would call it gift per se, because I worked very hard at it. And when I was about maybe 14, 15, I began to do billboards. And
so you painted billboards?
Yeah, billboards.
In Panama?
Panama City, yes.
Panama City.
And to remember, I was working with some other artists, but of course, at the time I wasn't as good as they were. I couldn't even watch the budgets of as good as they wanted me to. But by sneaking with them day and night, and they used to pay me $1.50 a week. But the money wasn't important. The most important thing was that the opportunity that they gave me to be with them. And that was my school. And then after I get $1.50, then they raised me to $3. That time I'm a big shot. And after $3, they went to $5. After $5, I went to $15. That means that I was the boss now. I was the boss. And I was doing all these big murals. But there was something that every time I moved the brush like this, I could see the money. I could see the money. Understand? So the opportunity that was given to me, I embraced it. And so when I came to the States here, I came exactly prepared to do all these type of things that we see me do today, gigantic paintings. So it was a gift in one way, and it was dedication and determination.
Of course, I mean, to have achieved what you have means that you were serious, very serious. And you know, one of the things that is also, I mean, I'm just fascinated with what you've achieved. The fact that you have almost, I think, 3 films that have already been made about you is amazing. Many artists go to their entire career, their entire life, and don't have a film made. And you've already had 3. You've seen one. I think another one is on the way soon. But Dana, weren't you going to make an announcement?
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, we received a proclamation that's going to be presented to Franco from the Borough President's office, Gail Brewer. And I wanted to make sure that we were able to get this in, the proclamation submitted to Franco.
Would you read a little bit of it?
I don't have hope for this.
We are proud to acknowledge those organizations and individuals that have remained committed to improving our city and vibrantly enriching the community. And hailing from Panama, Franklin Maxwell Gaskin, Franco the Great, has achieved outstanding results in art competitions, realizing his passion from a young age and utilizing it to dream of becoming a professional artist in Harlem, where such a dream would come true in a uniquely enriching way. And Mr. Gaskin received his chance to pursue his career as an artist, and through perseverance and cleverness of life, and he is a clever brother, became an established artist after leaving his artwork as his calling card, painting for bars, restaurants, and other establishments. And after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and the subsequent introduction of metal gates on several storefronts to protect stores from riots, Mr. Gaskin decided to create a new art form by painting murals, painting well over 200 gates from the west side to the east side of 125th Street, incorporating thought-provoking themes into his work and contributing to the culture of the city. And more recently, Mr. Gaskin additionally greets Harlem tourists, many of which have invited him to paint wall murals overseas in France, Germany, Japan, Switzerland, among others, displaying the vast artistic reach an influence which began with a youthful dream. I, Gail A. Brewer, do hereby commend Franklin Maxwell Gaston, Franco the Great, for his contributions to the city and proclaim Monday, May 21st, 2018, Franklin Maxwell Gaston Appreciation Day.
Congratulations, my brother.
No small achievement. I don't know how many of you have proclamations from the former president, but I'll tell you one thing, that's quite an achievement. Congratulations, sir.
One thing I'd like to add, when I first came to the States, I was trying to get a job as an artist, and I was, told that I had to have some schooling about it. Well, you can tell from my conversation I've never been to art school, but it's something that I love to do from a very young kid, and I never stopped. So I decided to say, wait a minute, why should I follow them? Let them follow me. So I continued my career, painting, and doing my own style and my own ideas. I could not believe what I heard. At the time that they asked me to go to school, because I have to have some kind of a background what they're talking about. At the time, I had all the time in the world, but did not have the money. Okay? 10 years after, they called me, the same school, with the visual art.
Visual art?
Visual art school, located on 23rd Street and 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
They called me and wanted me to do 2 lectures in the school. And I explained to them, I said, well, you know what, I cannot speak well, and I've never been to school, I don't know how to go with this. They said, but we can follow you in your career. Okay? But what I was trying to say, now that I have the money, I don't have the time. What should I do, folks?
Well, you should be very proud. The School of Visual Arts is a world-renowned institution that many world-famous artists have studied there, have taught. So the School of Visual Arts, you being invited there is quite an achievement.
Yes.
Well, I believe that we have another film that, am I correct? Are we ready? Okay.
Oh, yes. That one will be the remarkable chapter of boy. Do I remember that?
On another remarkable journey in breathing.
I knew what I wanted early young, to be an artist. Never dreamed that I was going my way. So
It's no secret Harlem is rich in African-American history. Just the mention of 125th Street will spark many folks to talk about the world-famous Apollo Theater. But locals will tell you a different story. One of a man who for the past 30 years has literally left his mark. An artist whose remarkable journey has made him world famous. He's the Picasso of Harlem, better known as Franco the Great.
one Sunday, Mr. Owner asked me to if I could paint something. It was all engagement graffiti. Everyone asked that Sunday, and so, Mr., you're doing fantastic. Beautiful.
Beautiful. That's an understatement. Franco's work has been called genius by many. He transformed the cold corrugated steel of storefront security gates into many windows of the world. This Panamanian's incredible story begins at the age of 3, after a near-fatal accident when he fell from a 2-story building landing on his head.
I went to my mother, she said I've been sitting in a coma for a month, and my head was this big. But my grandmother, she was responsible for me to watch me. And she probably turned her back and then I went off the veranda.
The injuries made it difficult for Franco to speak.
That was because I could not express myself as a leader, particularly as a kid. I would sit down and draw cartoons. Believe it or not, this character is my son.
Franco continued to draw, found friends in his priest who introduced him to magic, and also a fellow artist who helped Franco with his speech.
I was always reaching out for knowledge and people that could help me draw. And they're the one that actually made Franco the Great.
So with magic in one hand and pen and paint brushes in the other, Franco the Great left Panama in 1958 and came to Harlem. And though the road at first was rocky, no one in Harlem ever called him a dummy.
I was living on 14th Street at the time, and I walked over to 25th Street, knocking at every possible door that had a business. I was turning away, turned down. And someone let me know that in Harlem, or in New York rather, no one does anything for free. And if you do, you probably have a motive to come and grab the thing. And that was like, wow, this is it.
And now at the age of 77, Franco and his wife live in the center of it all, where he is the proud curator of the world's largest outdoor art gallery, extending some 10 blocks on both the east and west sides of 125th Street. Over the years, Franco's remarkable work has even been commissioned around the world.
And this is what really told me, because I disagree that. Just seeing my life is like this from time to time, it's turned out that way. With determination in myself to be not what people think you are, but what you think you are. This is one of the ways that I can communicate with the world. So you see, it has a lot of goodness come out of it, all because I do it with love for you. That never lost.
Thank you, and thank you.
Franco, you have, because of your stellar achievement, you've inspired so many of us. And let me tell you why. The art world is a very secular, private, sometimes racist, sometimes overly commercial industry. And if you don't get blessed by the forces that be, then you really don't go anywhere. You have been an inspiration because you have, as they would say, bucked the system. By you being an excellent artist, an entrepreneur with entrepreneurial skills, and definitely marketing skills, you have overcome the stigma, for lack of a better word, that permeates much of the art world if you are not, if you don't go to Harvard or one of the great schools known for their art. So in that sense, you have really helped open up doors for artists of color throughout the city and actually throughout the country by achieving what you've achieved. I don't really know if you realize your impact because for the most part, you've been so busy being successful that I don't know how much opportunity you've had to interact with a lot of the quote-unquote art movements in this country. But I just want you to know that you have created an opening, a portal, that has helped actually open up what we look at today as the progress of artists of color. Today, artists of color in many of the great museums. They're looked upon now with a whole new light. Because at one point, black art, or art of color, was relegated to, being classified as propaganda, or not up to the standards of what is called fine art. Well, you obliviated, destroyed all that stereotype with your excellence. Now, one of the things that is of particular interest to me is those riots that happened in Harlem that brought the whole idea of gates into existence. Again, where were you in when these riots were taking place? Were you actually in Harlem at that point?
Of course, yes.
Okay. And what was your response, or what was your involvement, or what was your reaction to this turmoil that was going in the streets? I remember where I was when it was happening. I was up in the tower of the Hotel Teresa, with an organization doing art and music and so on. Where were you in the midst of all this, and were you ducking for cover?
Ducking for cover. Now, really, you mentioned about the way that I went about my about my craft. Well, when the Visual Art School called me to give a lecture, to drop the classes, I guess one was illustration, and I explained to the young kids, because there was all types of kids that were ready to paint the world, they could wait to get out of school. And I tried to explain to them that maybe my system is an old-fashioned system, but if you want to follow me, that's the only thing I know to tell you. And they said, okay, Mr. Franklin, tell me what you did. I said, well, number one, you all can do the same thing. Capable of doing beautiful artwork, but you have to, if you can create a piece of work, then you can create a job. You understand? You can create a job. So they asked me, well, how will you go about creating a job? Well, in my case, I sell my work. They will understand that. Well, so I break it down and I says, well, when I say I'm selling myself, I put the personality in action. See, if you want to go into a place and you see a wall, because in those days, every time I go in a restaurant or any place, a wall was my business. The first thing I looked is for walls. But I never approached the owner about the wall because that was too obvious. So I began to use my personality in action. And he get to know the type of person I am, and he get the confidence that I am, and then I could present something that was displayed. Now, I never charged him a lot of money because sometimes the thing, art is too expensive. But I just charged enough money for me to cover the material at the time. Now, that piece that I will be doing will serve me as my counterpart, and so on and so on. So the next person that sees that painting, and then I can charge. See? But you have to develop a personality.
Well, you got plenty of that for sure. let me say this though. Now, when you went to the store owners with this idea, now of course, being a business person, first thing you're going to think about, well, what is it going to cost me? No. And you ingeniously were able to not charge them, from my understanding, so that there would be less resistance. Am I correct in that understanding?
Not exactly. Number one, I never even speak to the owners because...
I'm sorry, repeat that?
I never had a chance to speak to the owners.
Oh, I see.
Because when I begin to paint those cases early in the morning...
Say what?
So you would paint, so in other words, you would not ask permission?
It's not necessary because all business begins when the gate goes out. Mine begin with something.
I'm just surprised that, well, I guess, I mean, who would want to refuse beautifying their gates?
So that never say anything to me.
The concept there.
Let him paint it. I don't care. Everybody ain't going to run anyway. Understand?
Yes.
But I don't understand. This little trick, I've been doing this in Panama a long time. You know, when I named the states, I knew exactly how to approach. And so my whole schooling was in Panama. Everything that I was learned, I learned very young. So when I came to the States, it starts to amplify and to perfect. And that's why I'm trying to tell the youngsters, develop personality first. Because, for example, you could be the best painter in the world, but nobody likes your personality. I may be, let's say, a lousy painter, but my personality is so rich that people want to give me a break. You understand me?
No, I understand perfectly.
Whether you're a great painter with a low personality,
Well, listen, there's a lot of, my experience, there's been a lot of great painters who have lousy personality, but they do very well. Okay, because they're judged basically on their painting. Well, you have a double whammy. You not only have a wonderful, vibrant personality, but you have your master also. I'm sorry?
And a mentor.
And a mentor, oh yes, of course. Like I said, you just heard from another fine artist in the audience. You said you're a mentor. Well, I think I alluded to that earlier because you've inspired so many people. You know, and you have given public art a whole new face, I'll be quite frank with you. When I was looking at the film a few minutes ago, I saw the tremendous challenge you had with those gates. You know, there was not only concave and convex, but you had these ridges in the gate. But when you look at your painting, it's beautiful. I mean, you can't, well, you have a great sense of balance and composition, and you really, one of the things that people don't realize when it comes to realistic painting, which is one of the, avenues that you take in your work, is the control of light. And you're a master at that. I mean, I'm just, and what is particularly interesting to me is the range. I saw your paintings, everybody from Mr. T, when he was at the height of his popularity, to great images of pyramids of ancient Egypt, to sophisticated ladies with beautiful fashions and these beautiful hats. I mean, your range is just amazing. And I am so glad that so many people have recorded it. Okay, because very often artists get lost if you don't document your thing. But you've been documented by people from all over the world, so that's really a tribute to the beauty and wonder of Harlem. Harlem, as many of you know, is known throughout the world. It's one of the most popular destinations in the entire planet.
That's right.
And you are in the center of that attraction.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the most things that always amazed me to see that these countries send for me.
Yes.
And there are other artists over there too. Sometimes they always have the other artists out there want to know why is it the same place Americano and they are there.
Yeah.
And so I remember about 30 years ago the first Prime Minister of France invited me, and I began to do all these paintings in France next to Paris. Actually,
were they outdoors or were you in the museum? Outdoors.
So every time I look around in the newspaper, so one of my French girlfriends said to me, "Hey, tell them don't put you in a newspaper sign, but if they existed, that when somebody comes from abroad, everybody got to know about this man. So what happened? The artist from that particular city would be raising hell with the mayor, Why are you sending for him while we are here? But the mayors would say to them, but you all paint little pictures, like 12 by 12. And Franco paint giant pictures. So one week passed or 2 weeks passed, and in the mayor's office, today comes the artist with the painting.
You inspire scale,
He can paint like this too. So it can happen that even when the government will invite me or some kind of private business will invite me, they always somebody want to know why I'm here.
But were you able to communicate with some of those artists who may have had a beef with you? I mean, were you able, when you went to these different countries, connect with the artistic communities there?
One or two. And the last time that I've been rejected, I must say, was in Washington.
Washington, D.C.?
Washington, D.C. They happened to see one of my documentaries that you and I was in. And the owner of the restaurant.
Well, let me just correct that. Yes. I made a cameo appearance in a documentary. I happen to be lucky enough to be invited to say a few words. But please carry on, sir.
They saw the documentary, and for my amazement, that's the center. The Franco saw his documentary. We wanted to come over. She went to go on the war for us or whatever. It's a very, very famous restaurant. All the politicians eat there. Barack Obama, everybody. But it's in the black section, but all the whiteys come there. And they eat, okay. So what happened? When I got there, they paid for my beer and paid for my hotel and everything. And then they showed me the wall that we want to have done. And so I said, okay, as soon as I go back to New York, I'll make my sketches up and I'll tell you what I'm planning. So after 3 weeks, I did the sketches and everything on the way to go Washington now. And the owner of the restaurant said, oh, Mr. Franco, I'm sorry. But the artist Washington heard that you were coming and they're raising hell. Want to know why. God sent it to you, and we are here. So I'm saying, sometimes you wonder, and these people invite me if I'm going to face the problem again and again.
Well, the autistic community very often has a degree of pettiness and envy, to be quite frank with you. Here you are, world famous, coming into this community. And why not choose me? I've run into that on a few occasions when I have the opportunity. I've had the honor of being part of traveling exhibitions.
Right.
And when exhibition goes into a particular city or town, you get a little opposition, but you got to keep on going, man. I mean, you know what I mean? Your work is so important. And if you are invited by a government, obviously they see the tremendous value in bringing you there. Public art is not something everybody can do. And that's something that a lot of artists don't realize. As I said, it's one thing painting in 1824, it's another thing painting a 10 by 10 or 20 by 30 feet work of art. So I think we're almost ready for another excerpt. Am I correct there? Are we ready?
Yes.
All right. This is our final one before I'm going to tell you all, before we close out, and go ahead and get a little something to eat and go and see his exhibition, and make sure you get your copy of this magnificent book. I really am, listen, I'm serious. I picked up the book a few days ago and I have not been able to put it down. It is a fascinating tale. And I got to say to you, Franco, and the gentleman who helped you write it, sir, you are to be congratulated. It is a fascinating read. So, and I think you will autograph the copies that people will take.
I'm sorry you left out many things that I know.
Excuse me?
Many things.
Like what the women called you Franco the Great?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, listen.
There was no lie.
Listen, you guys said, when I read the book, I said, this is really the tip of the iceberg, but I mean, you've had a very exciting and adventurous life, to say the least. Anyway, here we go with the film.
Franco wrote a story about Harlem through the gates.
They're like murals. They're just done on gates.
It's something that no other community.
And he's taken for granted here where he lives.
With rolling steel gates as his canvas, artist Franco the Great changed the face of Harlem. His murals range from the historic, the uplifting, to the whimsical. Business owners originally installed the metal gates after the riots following the 1968 assassination of Dr. King. In 1978, Franco, with permission from store owners, began painting the gates as a way to brighten his community. However, in the past decade, soaring rents priced small mom-and-pop stores out of the neighborhood, and many of the new businesses coming into the area threw away Franco's work. And in 2008, new zoning laws required store owners to switch over to the see-through metal gates by 2023, putting Franco's work in danger of disappearing altogether. Out of the over 200 he's painted, only 25 remain. Franco, who's known as the Picasso of Harlem, wants to save his work. He discusses his murals and why he picked such an eclectic mix of images.
Create things that some people never get a chance to see in real life, so I bring them as representation for the regulations like it's living right, it's the land, things that kids can enjoy.
Team Franco, a group of residents working on behalf of the artists, gathered support of elected officials throughout Harlem. And last summer, Central Harlem's Community Board 10 passed a resolution supporting the storage and preservation of Franco's work. Arlene Hatcher, who owns Fishers of Men with her family, explains the care Franco took with painting her gate.
He comes by and he looks at the store, he tastes the food, and then he asks you, what is it that you'd like for the gates to reflect? This is our emblem that we have, that we use for our store, our trademark. And he put that in because we do reflect Christ and the world as one. My nephew, named Joe, is on one of the vision. And it was just amazing when we came to see the product completed.
Why is it important to save the gates?
When Harlem wasn't the way it is right now, it was almost like a jail here with just plain gates just to protect the stores. Just gave light and life to the community.
He did that at his own expense. And a lot of people have no idea that he never charged a dime.
He wasn't in the books, he wasn't written anywhere. This is what he chose to do, and it proves to our people and to our children's children, this is what you can do. You can have a voice. Your work can speak for you.
And this, with the gates, tells a lot of history of the things that took place in Harlem, and a lot about the historical figures in Harlem. All these things will be thrown away if we don't protect it.
It's not just Harlemites who enjoy Franco's work.
The tourists will come, and the bus will stop there, and they will chit-chat with him, take pictures, and buy his work.
And anytime that people come to more places, so let me see terrific things that because show you that my work is everyone's own.
What happens next?
At some point, all the gates on 105th Street will change. I mean, we're not trying to fight progress, but we just need some place to put those gates.
We've got in touch with Senator Perkins with the Harlem Urban Development Corporation, Mr. Tom Lunky, and they found a site that might be possible to not only put Franco's gates on display, but use it as a tourist attraction. That's 125th Street, 1st Avenue by the Charcoal Bridge.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to now open the floor for a few questions just a few, and then we'll have closing remarks. And then we are going to visit Franco in the gallery where he will be signing books, posters. And I saw a fantastic umbrella that you created as well. I mean, this man is amazing. So we're going to take maybe 3 or 4 questions, and then we're going to close so that you can enjoy the rest of the evening and also get a little snack. Okay, yes ma'am.
Hi, my name is Chandra Grosvenor Brown, and I have the pleasure to have been knowing Franco since I lived up here in the 80s. And I used to see Franco doing the gates, and then I moved here in 2000 or 1999, and he was my neighbor, and he was my mentor. I was fortunate enough to work with Franco, and I have to say that there is so much to cover about this great man. I mean, not only does he speak all these different languages and everything, but he's an amazing mentor. He's taught me so much. I've studied art all my life, but he's got a great school of thought and technique, you know, and he's got everything from black velvet art, which they chose to do. And that's some of the art that we were talking about where the things can be insignificant. But he created that venue, that, you know, and so, and I just love him so much, and thank you for being here and for everything. But I also have to say that they did a documentary that was done about Franco most recently. But the one thing that it's interesting because it was done by people that were all the way from across the land. But he inspired so many schools of thought that their whole premise for their whole proposal of what they were doing was actually designed around this man, because of all his efforts and how he used art to teach people and to empower them. And across the land, these people came up with this project, and it was called The Art Is Not a Crime. And they based their documentary and everything about the principality and their mission of documentary action on this man who, unfortunately, he had a very small part in it, but his role was so big because they would not have thought about it and not have been able to create that thing, to understand the mechanism of what he taught, what he gives to our community in all these years is what inspired them.
Absolutely, and as I mentioned before, almost single-handedly, he has helped to transform the image of Harlem. As many of you know, Harlem, many years ago, of course, it's changed drastically now. I'm very happy about that. Harlem was known as crime. Harlem was known it was also known as the cultural capital of the world. But it also had a reputation of what they call ghetto, crime. And Franco brought a new light to the image of this beloved community. Any other questions?
I just want to add one thing.
Yes.
When I lived here in Harlem in the 80s, when Franco was creating his games, if y'all lived here in the 80s, you remember how Harlem, they were tagging everything, but nobody.
Now tagging, hold on a minute so people understand what tagging is. Tagging is writing your name in graffiti on somebody's wall or somebody's truck. So it was really defacing the community. And as I said, no one ever tagged or defaced any of your work. So you brought a whole new sense. Questions? We got 2 more. Yes. Thank you, Chandra.
Only ladies, huh? Only ladies.
Yes, sir.
My name is Austin. I've known Franco all my life. No, I was saying my name is Franco. I mean, my name is not Franco. My name is Austin, and I've known Franco basically all my life.
Can you stand, please?
All right.
Yeah. The boys are talking about that.
One of the things I appreciate about him most is that he's a gentleman that's, respectfully, honorably, almost 3 figures soon enough, and still has, his mental capacity to hold a great conversation with you, great personality, and just knowing his story from where he came from when he was a child to where he's at now. Now he expresses himself in all these beautiful ways. So that's what I truly appreciate. What I wanted to ask was, is there a particular piece of work that you've done, one of the gates that's particularly, I guess, more meaningful for you? Do you have a personal favorite? And why? Is there any reason behind that?
Okay. Well, that I remember there was the ones that I painted, one that says, think positive.
Yeah.
That was always my motto. In one of your favorite articles. The other one was harmony among the races. Another one, Rome, I was planted. So if you notice, most of the things that I've been trying to do in my life is the philosophy and psychology. Not only to paint pretty pictures, but to send a message somehow.
Well, your work does that explicitly, really magnificent. Okay, one more. Who's that, Alicia? Miss Brown, very fine artist in her own right. How are you, Alicia?
Congratulations, and I salute you for archiving and documenting yourself and this journey, because all the artists need to see an artist being part of history and making history. So that is one fine point. But I'm noting that I used to ride the bus across 125th Street going to Music and Art, and I would wonder what was going to be next on the gate. So it was a powerful experience to go from a blank metal canvas to now this colorful canvas, which was a gate. So my question is, since these gates are going to be restored on the 125th Street where you have in the film mentioned, will you connect with tourism, not just in Harlem but downtown, so that they can make that connection? Because I'm always seeing tourists come to Harlem looking for pieces of Harlem to snatch and connect with. So it would make sense to build a relationship with the tourism board.
Yes.
You've done all of this travel.
Thank you, that's a good idea.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. I'd like to have clips and Lizette come up for closing remarks.
There goes my life.
Time to go to work. Nice canvas.
I want to take a picture.
Oh, yes.
Well, okay, could we get our closing remarks from Lizette, Dana, and Cliff, please?
Well, I'd really like to once again thank you all for coming out to support Franco's fantastic work. He is definitely a treasure for the Harlem community and the art world at large. But by you coming out and supporting us, you're supporting Harlem, you're supporting arts and culture, and you're supporting community. And Franco is the epitome of this. We need to sit and listen and find out about the history of Harlem, its beautification, and the legacy. And this isn't just a talk or a conversation tonight. As we have incorporated as Save the Gates of Harlem, Inc., Franco will be, of course, having other sessions, much like this one. We're talking more about his art, his technique, and again, his future thoughts on 125th Street. He will also be continuing to do what he does, is teach young people his magic. And again, there's been a great disconnect, or really a mystery about who are the real artists of Harlem. What is a Harlem artist? Is the Harlem artist someone that is born in Harlem, and is named art in Harlem, lives in Harlem? Is a Harlem artist an artist that has moved to Harlem, appreciates Harlem, and their artwork is based on the legacy of Harlem? There are a lot of different definitions, but the bottom line for me on a Harlem artist is someone that loves their art, loves Harlem, and can deliver that message the way Franco has. Thank you, Franco.
I'm going to be very brief, but I have to make this acknowledgement. You know, I spent most of my life in the building across the street, the 28th Precinct. And it's nice to know that since I've been going, I'm still able to come back home. And I've always had the support of the 28th Precinct. We have Captain Gutierrez here, the executive officer of the 28th Precinct. Precinct has always and traditionally been, when I first came there, they told me that it's always been open to the community. No matter what happened, we had problems and we got it solved with the help of the community. That's the relationship we have. And that's the relationship that still goes on there. And that's why they allow us to have our meetings there. When we meet with Franco, we meet at the precinct. We have they get to know us, they get to know, they all know Franco. That's, but I mean, it's good to know that you can walk in a place, a precinct, and be welcome. And I want to acknowledge that because it's not happening everywhere. And lastly, just want to thank everyone for sharing this time with us and with Franco, and hopefully we look forward to doing it again. But we'll see you inside with the book signing and what.
Thank you. Well, thank all of you for coming. It's been an absolute joy and to be with a genius. We are in the presence of a genius, and let's not forget it. We need to celebrate our own. We don't do enough of that. So, Mr. Genius, thank you for being the genius you are. And sharing all of the talent that you have. And it will continue on. And by the way, I want all of you to know that let's consider the cultural center here as home. It's available to you. You can utilize it. You can look at the beauty of it, and you need to, before you leave here, just take a walk around. And look at all of the things that are here that reflect you. And it's inclusive of different races. We've had white exhibits here, we've had Asian exhibits here, we've had African exhibits here, we've had a variety of exhibits here. This is a place and space that exudes with love, caring, determination, and victory. You are winners. Let's continue to be winners. And thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. But before you go, I just can't believe that all of these things have been said about this guy named Franco. Wait a minute. If I knew that this was be so kind to me, I'd probably go to bed to myself better. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with me.
Now, one of the things, Franco, you got to keep in mind, you do these things automatically. You don't have to think about it. You do it. And that's what makes you unique. I'm not knocking other artists, so don't misunderstand. Many people are self-concerned. How do I benefit from it? How do you buy my work, etc., etc. This man goes out and interfaces with the people. And that's why people love you.
Thank you. Thank
I see you out there.
One second, please, before you leave, 1 second.
Too often the police are reflected negatively. We regard them too many times, too often, negatively.
Folks, can you please give us your attention for
This
5 minutes?
precinct here
Thank you.
has been very supportive, has worked with us, not asking for anything, but giving to it. So let's keep in mind that the police department can be a resource, can be someone to work with you, and we will continue working with your precinct.
Okay, one more thing, folks. I just want to let you know about some upcoming events, if you give me the indulge me a moment. June 22nd, we are having an exhibit here of a Japan photographer. He lived in Harlem between the last year's, the end of the 80s to the beginning of the 90s. And he took hundreds of pictures. We're going to have an exhibit of the photos that he took during that time on June 22nd.
He's ill, and hopefully he can make it here from Japan, but we've been communicating with the representative, and it's going to be an awesome event. Also on June 18th, by popular demand, the film King of Stage will be rescreened here on June 18th with Nima Barnett and Mr. McCants as...
June 18th?
Yes, June 18th. They're going to be on the panel. Also on June 30th, we have a phenomenal exhibit on an artist called Lennox Commission. And what else? Am I missing anything else? Her boy was already here. Okay, folks, I just want to let you know if anybody has any questions on any upcoming shows, let me know, and I'll put you on the email list if you're not on the email list.
We want everybody
Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Minerva. We want everybody to leave their contact numbers. We want you to go in and enjoy the exhibition. You'll see some of his marvelous painting on canvas in the other room, and also get a little something to eat, and his books. Make sure you get that book. I'm really serious about it. It is a fascinating read. And you have wonderful posters, umbrellas, and umbrellas. So, folks, thank you again. And as Cliff said, this is your second home. Please enjoy.
And as I want to mention again, no home is complete without a great home. So please take something with you.
Nobody gets off stage until Glenda gets up. Do not get off stage. I'll wait till everybody is finished. Because I need to get back. Okay. Everybody look this way. Look this way. This is beautiful, amazing photographer. We know how to take our shot. Adimola, please look up. Thank you. Look this way one more time. One more time. Adimola, stop moving.
Here we go. I did it in my car.